I say to my clients, $1 million clients, that you won't find any other person in the world who can solve your problem the way I can. That's it. If I'm going to charge you $1 million or $3 million, you need to know that you have the creme de la creme.
Hey, welcome to the podcast where dreams meet determination and success is just around the corner. I'm your host, Suzanne Taylor-King, and I'm here to help you unlock the full potential of your business and your life. Welcome to Unlock Your Way with STK. Let's unlock your path to success together. Hello, everyone. Suzanne Taylor-King here for another episode, a special episode of Unlock Your Way with STK. I'm here today with the incredible and the incomparable Mary Shakun. Mary, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Suzanne. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you so much. Full transparency, Mary is one of my mentors and has been just so gracious pouring into me for the last couple of years. I've been part of Mary's $1 Million Boardroom program and a group of coaches she has mentored. And your appearance on Coaches in Conversation a couple weeks ago has prompted so many conversations that I had to bring you back for more of you. So I really appreciate you being here today.
Oh, you're very welcome.
All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about, first question I have for you is how many coaches struggle with the right fit clients? They accept everyone, they work with everyone. And I wanted to hear a little bit about how you personally vet people. Many of your clients come from referrals, but what's your process like getting to know someone before you make them a client offer?
Well, from my experience, especially in the last 6 months, I would say 90% of coaches are struggling to get clients. It doesn't, regardless of what niche you're in. Everybody, I get emails every day. Mary, I'm stuck. I need clients. Do you have any resources? I get that question 10, 12, 20 times a week sometimes. And I don't have any special resources other than the research I do myself. As you know, I've done hours, maybe 3,600 hours of research over the course of 2 years, men and women. And while that took a long time back then to do with AI, I can do all of that in less than 5 minutes, providing you enter the correct prompts and you're very clear about who your ideal client is. For example, one key example I like to give is political. If you vote for Trump, you couldn't work with the Biden supporter. End of story. It's not going to work. He's not your ideal client, and vice versa. Just doesn't work. So you have to be very, very careful with who you work.
Yes.
And I ask a lot of personal questions. I take deep dives, especially those who pay me $1 million and the back. I take serious deep dives into their personality over a consultation. I ask them all sorts of personal questions. There's no taboo, so to speak, because I've heard it all.
Yeah.
And I want to know importantly is why you want to work with me. Why me? There's a million of other better coaches out there. Why me? Why? What is it, that attracted you to me other than the referrer? And the referrer isn't always correct. Somebody refers 3 people, and I might not want to work with any of them. And sometimes I'd say, oh, do you have 3 more like that? They're perfect. It's very difficult to know. So you have to have a list of questions. Before you get on that consultation, you have to be clear in your mind. You have to have done your research, number one. You have to know who this person is. Is he a vegetarian? Is he a carnivore? Or is he a pescatarian? Does he play golf, tennis? His hobbies. What does he like to do in his spare time? You need to know all of that stuff because it gives you the rounding of the person, the rounding of the character. And then I ask, do you lie? Because if you lie to me, you're done. I'll give you back your money and you'll No, that's it. And I've had oodles of people who lied. They didn't do the work. I'll question them. I'll say, I'll give them some homework. Or what did you find out about so and so who's the chairman of blah blah blah? Hmm. Mm. You never mentioned that. I said it's written down. It's on the exercise I gave you. They don't pay attention. Sometimes, even though they went to Harvard, jail, and forever, and I just grew up in a country town in Ireland, so to speak, people are sometimes stumped by the questions I ask. They're not able to answer.
Do
And that's another.
Wow. I'm kind of speechless at what you just said because many of your clients are paying upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not $1 million, to work with you, and they still don't do the homework?
Mhm. Sometimes they don't even show up. I'm sitting there on Zoom for a whole hour and there's no sign of them. I email them, I Facebook them, I message them,
Mhm.
no response. With the higher end kind, for somebody who pays me $1 million and up, they just want to know I'm available to them when they need. It's like a hand holding exercise. It's like I'm the mom and I'm always there to ask the question or to hold your hand.
Wow.
That's at the $1 million end. At the $10,000 end, they get it. It's totally different. If they don't get the results they want, like my $1 million thing, it's money up front, the whole thing, paid in full, no refund, no guarantee. Do the work, I guarantee you'll get the results. With the $10,000 client,
Mhm.
oh, Mary, after 3 weeks or 3 months, maybe if it's a 6-month program, this isn't working for me. I want my money back. Or I'm sorry, didn't you read your contract? No money back. No refund, no guarantee. You have to do the work. So it's very important that you vet the person. I also go and look for comments, what other people said about them. I'll go into their Facebook or their LinkedIn, especially, and see what's going on. If people argue with them, their Twitter account, are they argumentative? See for who they are before I take them on.
How much time would you say, on average, you spend with someone before they sign up to work with you?
I generally do 2 45-minute sessions, and if I have any doubts, I'll do a third one.
Okay.
But mostly, I'm the one looking to the doubt. When somebody has a big problem, Suzanne, and they want it fixed now or yesterday, and they think you can fix it for them, they'll pay you, no problems. They don't even want to consult. Where do I send the check? Where do I send the money?
Yes.
I'm not interested. But that's the $1 million client. That's the CEO level or the entrepreneur who has a $1 billion problem and will pay $1 million to make it disappear.
Mhm. Well, those people don't just show up from a social media post. And one of the things that I love so much about what you teach and what you do is that your content on social media is so great. But I wonder, your content is not what brings really high level clients. It's the personal relationship and the personal research. And knowing that ideal client, what would you say has been the number one thing that's brought those higher ticket, higher value, higher, longer engagement, more expensive engagements to you?
The research is key. Like before AI, I would get up at 5 o'clock and do 5 hours of research on one person, maybe more. Maybe that 5 hours a day for a week on one person until I find everything about them.
Wow.
The second thing is to be sure of your solution. He's paying you for the solution to his problem. Before you pick up the phone or reach out to him on however you reach out to him, you must have at least 2 solutions in mind that will work for him. And then you must be able to convince him or persuade him. Like I say, and I have said this in groups, and people say, Mary, you're so arrogant. But the tip I say to my clients, $1 million clients, that you won't find any other person in the world who can solve your problem the way I can. You can search high and low and you won't find them. And the best you can get. And I have to believe that about myself. I'm going to spend $1 million.
Yes.
And I tell people in groups, I say that, and they all said, what? How could you say that? I said, if I'm going to charge you $1 million or $3 million, you need to know that you have the creme de la creme.
Mm-hmm. And that comes from not only confidence and your past history with clients, but it also comes from a deep commitment to your clients. I know you are so committed to people's success, the people who hire you, you're committed to working with them. And you've said something to me once before about doing the work. If a client is doing the work that you recommend, it fuels you. And I'd love to know what does it feel like compared to working with somebody at the $10,000 level when you help somebody with a $1 million problem? What's the difference that feels like for you solving those bigger problems?
It's like chalk and cheese, or a vegan and a carnivore.
Uh-huh.
Okay, completely different
Mhm.
sides of the spectrum, but I don't change my personality, nor my behavior, nor my language, nor the way I look, or the makeup I wear, or my hairdo to meet the $3 million client. I meet them on the same level as I meet the $10,000 client because I believe that being authentic is really a key ingredient
Yeah.
to getting that client. I met somebody in a client came in from I hadn't met him, and he wasn't a $1 million client, but he was like a 250,000 up there. And he called me up and he says, Mary, I'm going to be in New York. Let's meet for lunch. And I just got dressed up the way any New Yorker. Put on a pair of sneakers and walked down to the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
He looks me up and down. Where are your high heels? I said, we're in New York. Nobody. Look around you. Who's wearing high heels? Nobody. You wear high heels, you carry them in your bag and you change them at the restaurant. What's the point? We've been working 8 or 9 months now, what does it matter whether I wear high heels or sneakers, you know?
Yep.
Little things like that. But I give, like people will call me up and say, Mary, I'm really stuck and I want to do the $1 million thing, or I ha- they call me up and they have a preconceived notion in their head. Like, I see this company, I hate the branding, I want to enroll them, I want to change the branding, and they don't want to pay attention to my program.
Mm.
They just want me to get this client for them. And I have failed many times. I can't get that client for you. That's your job. I will show you how to get the client. I will tell you what to say. But at the end of the day, getting that client, enrolling that client, be it for $1 million or 100,000 or 10,000, is the coach's job. I don't do that.
Well, so much of it is based on the relationship. But I want to go back to what you said about the high heels. Because the most money I ever made in one day, I was wearing jeans, a t-shirt, and flip-flops. So I totally agree with that. You're not buying my shoes. You're paying for this right here.
Mhm.
So I love that so much. And I want to also ask, so being authentic, being real, that was one of the biggest compliments from our last conversation, was just this natural way you have, and it's you just being you, but of telling stories, full transparent stories of how you started and where you were at. And I think that's so appealing to people. But when it comes to doing the research and spending all of that time, many people, many coaches in particular, are not willing to invest 3 conversations or 3 hours of research into one person. And I want to argue that that is exactly what's required to have $100,000, $1 million clients, because it's the relationship that sells what your solution for them.
It's all about the relationship. And yes, so I had look, my I had a program and I still have it teaching the art of finding, engaging, and closing a seven-figure client. And I prefer to use seven-figure than a million most of the time because people freak out at the idea of a million. They even freak out at the idea of 100,000. They can't handle it.
Mm.
But if you look back, when coaching started, whenever it started, and people were selling programs at 497, 297, 497 was like the regular 8-week program, signature program. And now, how much are people charging for signature programs?
Mhm.
So it's all, and people think, oh, at the $1 million level, this is one thing that really gets me about self-esteem. Well, why would he want to work with me? He's the CEO of let's say, a Fortune 50 company.
Mhm.
What do I have to offer to him?
Mm.
And they say that without doing any research about who he is, what his problem is, or anything else.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because now, where I used to spend 5 hours on one person, and so in 2015, I did 5 hours a day, 365 days for that year on men only.
Mm.
Now, that was 1,800 plus hours. Now I can get all of that information. I know I can get 20 clients in 2 minutes. The
And
list of
it's
20 clients and with AI in less than 2 minutes.
well, that's what that's so incredible that you have embraced technology. And if I could say anything about you, is that you've adapted so well to technology. And that is the number one excuse I get from coaches over 50 years old is I don't know how to do technology. I don't know how to do that. And you have embraced technology as much as I have, and which is just astonishing to me. And this idea of being able to do the research that you taught me how to do and be able to do that research in 10, 20 minutes max, and I would have enough people to research, sell to, have conversations with for a year in 20 minutes.
Hmm.
And people aren't willing to do it, and they're not willing to learn technology to adapt like that. What would you say motivated you to learn it and adapt like that?
Okay, so you saw my retreat program, right? I
Yeah,
put that website up myself.
it was beautiful.
I had to find somebody to do the Stripe because that's out of my league. And I also put up the Hunger to Belong website myself because it's easier for me to put it up than to be talking to somebody. Do I'd have it done. It's like this. Uh, somebody wanted to work with me once. I believe I shared this with you before. And every thought I had, oh, I write a white paper on that. What are you talking about? But by the time you have the white paper written, I have the whole thing up, ready to go. He had, look, I'm 80, okay? But even when I'm 90 and AI has changed, and I'm assuming I'll be alive, I'll be up there with
Yes.
So with it, you had to keep up.
Well, I love this because I call it being AI enabled. Um, there's companies that I've worked with, there's people that I've worked with who just have not grown and adapted into this new mode of doing things. And I want to share this one example that someone asked me. They think I'm online on social media all the time. And I get this comment a lot. Oh my gosh, you're always on social media. "N- No, I'm actually never on social media. It just looks like I'm on social media." And they ask, well, how do you do that? Well, it's very easy. I create 30 days of content ahead of time, and I create content for my group, my personal page, my LinkedIn, and 4 other communities, all different content, all in a couple hours once a month. And then I schedule it all out.
Mhm.
And the astonishment that that conversation brings from other people is, well, how did you learn how to do that? And again, it's this idea that the old way of doing things isn't necessarily the best. And if you're not willing to pivot, how can you possibly grow a coaching practice in today's day and age?
But it's even beyond the technology, what with all the language, all the neuro stuff, and
Yeah.
all of this stuff that's coming out. One has to keep up with it. Why would I, if I had a serious personal problem? Well, why would I go to a coach? And let's say I've read a lot about neurodynamics and
Mhm.
all of that. Why would I go to hire a coach who doesn't know anything about that? Why?
I I
When
oh
I could probably teach the course.
yes. Okay, so I love this so much because if you want to be hired by a high performer, you have to be a high performer.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love it.
How can you expect somebody who's not a high performer to hire you if you are? And if you're not, they're not going to hire you.
Yes.
But I think there's a malaise at the moment. I think some people are burnt out. Others, I think a big problem is just came up for me the other day with a client. A lot of people, they don't have the know-how.
Mhm.
They might have the solution, but they're not able to express it. And then they'll say, well, let me try AI. Maybe that'll help me. But they're not putting in the correct prompt because they don't know the right question to ask,
Right.
the right answer.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And
So,
I think that's why I've been successful with it because I'm a good questioner and I'm a good explainer of what I want out. But there's more than that. It's a mindset. I mean, everything that we're talking about is a mindset of being a high performer, being willing to pivot, being willing to adapt. And if you want high value clients, you have to be doing that for yourself. And you mentioned something in your research of people that you research well beyond demographics. So, you know, you go well beyond. I work with male CEOs who are over 40. You go much, much deeper than that and explain the importance of that piece of it.
the one thing I find a lot in the $1 million at the $1 million level is that when men who have the potential to perform highly, the lack of sex or sex skewed, for want of a better word,
Mhm.
or an abnormal sexual life. I mean, that can take the route of having 2 or 3 mistresses as well as a wife. All of these personal problems, men don't realize it, but it gets in the way.
Mm.
And I have this new program I'm about to start, which is sex, power, and money mastery. And it's addressed to men. I'm thinking at the moment it would be addressed to men. Maybe I'll do another one for women. Because what I find is you have the guy, he started out, he has his first 10 clients at $10,000 each. Whoops, he has 100,000. Before you know it, he has $1 million. And he keeps going and going and going. And then, he has $10 million, $20 million. He's on the route to huge mega success. And he's a high performer. Okay? Oh, the one thing I find with men like that is that, especially men who have had to work their way up, and they settled, when they got married, they settled for a particular girl because they felt she was the best they could get. But now they're in their 40s and they're all swagger and they have multiple millions of dollars and they buy designer clothes and a Lamborghini and yada yada. Now, now they're finding themselves very attractive and the middle of a lot of attention from women.
Yeah.
And before you know it, a man who swore he would never go outside of his marriage is in the thick of an extramarital affair. That's the flex part. Then maybe he had 3 mistresses. And I've come across men who've had 3 mistresses, and I've had to fly to Singapore and Paris and Middle America, with checks to find divorce lawyers to fix it.
Oh.
So that's the sex part of it. Now the power part. They want to have more power. They want to yield more power. They want to be seen as more powerful. They want to become players. I also have a program that I call it, how to be a player on the global stage. I don't know if you ever saw it posted on this. And I'm very brand that say, look, the fee is $1 million because I don't want people calling me to pick my brain over and haggle over money. And these people who want to be, most of them who want to be players on the global stage, okay, they've gone through the sex stage, now they're in the power stage. They're looking for that power. And they don't know how to claim it, don't know how to grab it, or whatever you do. I guess people grab the power. They don't know how to grab the power.
Wow.
So there's a lot of that.
Wow.
Okay. And then money, then how many times have you come across somebody who went from rags to riches to rags? Because they don't know how to manage.
Yes.
They don't know how to manage the money. So there's a lot of that too. So I'm thinking about, I was thinking of, I hold a retreat every year myself for men, for about 10 to 15 men. And I charge $100,000 for the week. And if your message is like people say, women tend to fuss over their makeup and their hair before they go on Skype or Zoom or whatever. This is not important. What's really important is the message. What are you going to do for this? What am I going to do with this group of men or women that are coming to my retreat? Or what am I going to do for this man or woman who is my new client?
Yes. Yeah, it's really about that positioning, and this is something that you do very, very well, but very authentically. You position yourself as exclusive and expensive without being ego-driven or arrogant about it. And you said something else to me, it was probably more than a year ago, Suzanne, be approachable, but not accessible. I've repeated that hundreds of times since you said that to me. And I really took it to heart, so much so that changing my business to fill out an application if you want to work with me, and then I'll get on a call with you. And that idea of positioning yourself What advice would you give to a struggling coach who is in that desperate, I need a client, I just need to make money phase about positioning?
Don't chase,
Mm.
attract. You have to, like, for example, if you're not getting a client for many months, still let's say 6 months, you have to take a deep look inside and see what's going on with you know, and you have to change your energy and how people can go and look. I didn't make any tapes about this. A lot of this work is Joe Dispenza's work or other people's work.
Mhm.
But you have to change your energy. And one way of changing your energy is doing that inner work, creating goals, making them happen, having the vision, reading about it, changing your energy. And it might not happen overnight,
Yeah.
but it will happen.
Yeah. Great advice. Great advice. I mean, it's been 2 years since I met Dorothy, maybe a little bit more, and then got introduced to you. During that 2 years, I've grown, I've up-leveled my prices, I don't know how many times, my offers, my confidence level, but it's really come from nothing outside of me. It's come all from owning the journey that has been within and the knowledge that I have. And I think that's the hardest thing for people to do is to understand that it's not something out here you need. It's not some program you need to buy. It's not some thing that's going to make you successful. It's you. It's you. You have to work on you.
A lot of people don't write down their goals.
Yeah.
And a lot of people take everything they have for granted. And like yesterday, I had a Substack, and I think you're a part of it. I
Mhm.
wrote on gratitude, and gratitude is so important because when people start complaining, "Oh, this is wrong and that is wrong," I tell them, "Well, look at the people in India who don't even, or Africa who don't even have clean water to drink or something." Maybe comparison, but they don't want to hear it. And the younger people, there's definitely a difference between I don't know the differences in all the Gen X, Y, and Z, but let's say in people who are over 50, there's a big difference in their mindset between them and the people under 50, the 20 and 30-year-olds.
Yes.
And the 20 and 30-year-olds have this sense of entitlement. They don't want to hear what an older person has to say. And then they realize one day, oh my God, I should have listened to Mary, or I should have done this, or I should. Mary, what was that you said again? Can you,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
How many times has that happened? A ton,
Sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. In all the years coaching, what was the client that stood out to you, um, that you really felt as though you made the biggest difference for?
Okay. He's local to my neighborhood here.
Mhm.
I was in Whole Foods with my grandson when he was 2, about 9 years ago. And I was totally dressed down. It was snowing and raining and you name it. Yeah, everything was, my hair was a wreck. Everything was a wreck. And I'm online to pay for my groceries, and my 2-year-old grandchild is wanting a lollipop and this and that. And I'm saying, no, no, no. And there's a man behind me, and he says, oh, that's a British accent you have. Where are you from? And of course, you can have that lollipop here. I'll pay for it. It's my grandchild. And where are you from? And the conversation started about Ireland. And he said, oh, I'd love to talk to you more. Would you like to have coffee with me? I said, sure, I'll have coffee with you. I mean, it's snowing and raining outside. Why not? So there's a cafe in Whole Foods. She said, you go and grab a table and I'll grab the coffee. So 10 minutes later, he appears with the coffee and he sits down. And what do you do? And yeah, I do. I'm a business coach. And who are your clients? We're CEOs and Fortune CEOs and entrepreneurs. And how much do you charge? I said, it depends on the problem. I never, when people ask me how much I charge, Because I get referrals from $1 million clients, but their platform might be only 100,000. And you have to be fair. So we got into a conversation and it lasted 2 hours. When I'm emailing, my son is calling me, "Where are you? I need the milk or this or that." And fresh out there. So he said, "Oh, I have to have a copy with you again." He said, "Can I email you?" I didn't have a card. I just wrote it on a scrap of tissue and I gave it to him. And I had an email from him and he wanted me to meet his partner tomorrow, locally. I said, "Just a local cafe." I said, "Sure, I'll come and meet your partner." That was my $3 million friend.
Wow. I love that. I love that story so much.
Actually, it took hours of talking back and it wasn't on the Zoom. It was face to face.
Yeah.
First of all, we had 2.5 hours of Whole Foods. Then he was anxious to meet me again, and probably 3.5 to 4 hours in the cafe.
Yes.
And I coached him.
Beautiful. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. And well done having a charismatic personality that you could start a conversation with somebody in line at Whole Foods. Number one skill to have as a coach is the ability to build rapport and talk to other people. And you do it so, so well.
I kissed the Bernie stone, as they say.
I love it. That idea of being able to talk to anyone has just served you so, so well.
Well, when we remember that we all come into the world the same way, naked, and we all leave the same way, and what happens in between is up to you.
Love it. Well, thank you again for joining me for this conversation today, Mary. It was a delight.
Thank you for having me, Suzanne.
You're so welcome. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to another empowering episode of Unlock Your Way. I hope you found today's discussion inspiring and you're ready to take your business and personal growth to that next level. If you're feeling as fired up as I am and eager to unlock that full potential, I'm here to help you on your journey and provide that personalized guidance tailored to your unique goals and challenges. Simply book a one-on-one coaching call with me and we'll dive deep into your business aspirations and see how we could co-create a roadmap for your success. And whether you're striving to scale an enterprise or just getting started, I'm here to support you every step of the way. To schedule your coaching call, simply visit the website at unlockyourwaywithstk.com, click on the Book a Call button, and we'll turn your dreams into that reality. Subscribe and review on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube. Plus, you can join over 800 entrepreneurs in the Idea Lab Facebook group. Let's make success as an entrepreneur happen together. Until next time, I'm STK. Keep dreaming big, stay focused, and most of all, have fun while you're doing it.
This show is powered by Media Leads. To get your next great podcast produced, go to MediaLeadsCo.com.